I think wolves are probably one of the most misunderstood animals on the planet.
People are scared of it. Wolf. You know?
The problem with red wolves really seems to be this tolerance idea and just more the mentality of having them on the landscape at all.
This is the only wild population in the world. Why are we not out protecting this? You know, that's what I struggle with. Like, what is it going to take to get people to understand that and really want to say, we want to protect this?
Trying to wrap my mind around the amount of people who don't even know that this animal exists, much less that there's less than 30 of them in the wild and soon to be less possibly. That's mind-blowing. You know, we always hear about pandas and tigers and everything else. Like, what about the red wolf?
The red wolf was the first large predator reintroduction program that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife ever decided to do.
And it started right here in North Carolina, in the eastern part of the state, out in Alley River National Wildlife Refuge.
Here in Dare County, in 1987, you know, there was the red wolf, which was down to almost nothing, and they started, you know, to try to bring them back.
It was actually the first reintroduction effort of its kind.
But, you know, the landowners decided that they had rights too, and they didn't want wolves on their property. And there was a very small vocal group of landowners that said, hey, we want the wolves gone. So it's kind of where we're at right now, is that small minority of vocal descendants to the programs are pushing the agenda of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And so the population in the Outer Banks of North Carolina right now is diminishing pretty quickly. Like I said, at its height, we had close to 300 wolves. Right now, there's probably somewhere around 20 to 30 wolves in the wild only. So there is no introductions going on right now. U.S. Fish and Wildlife have stopped that. So all the other problems with the landowners and other political issues are solved. What's going on is those wolves are dying on their own right now, and that's not a sustainable way to have a wild population.
So that was farmland, and so some of the land is flooded for the waterfowl, and so that's over to the right. What's going on over there?
Very nice.
Right now, you're in the home of the only place where red wolves are found in the wild, which is pretty unique. Not many places you can say that. So my name is Kim Wheeler, and I'm the Executive Director of the Red Wolf Coalition. When I do a program, I always like to say to people, I'm going to say the word wolf, and then you tell me the first thing that comes into your mind. And usually it's snarling and mean and growling and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a prime example of just a skewed mentality towards canids in general. I mean, they have always been persecuted. And this is... I can't think of a clear example of, you know, really a species that's done nothing wrong, but is still being persecuted on a daily basis because of the way they look.
You know, we need to change that culture. We need the wolf to be the good guy. You know, we need to make sure people understand that the wolf isn't going to steal your child. The wolf isn't going to, you know, eat your dog. That the wolf is an important part of the ecosystem, and they need to be here to, you know, have a healthy ecosystem. You need to have that top predator. So that's probably the biggest thing that the regular person can do, is just share that message and change that culture.
This is obviously going to be a critical year for the red wolf. We're waiting for the Fish and Wildlife to make some determinations about the North Carolina population. A lot of people thought that only locals had a say in this, and then I remind people that this is a federal program. Your tax dollars, if you pay tax dollars, you're invested in the Red Wolf program. And so therefore they have a say on what goes on. And that's been the most humbling thing for me, is to hear people from all over the country, you know, say that they wrote their representatives in Washington to let them know that this animal is important to them and they don't have to live here.
Whether it's, you know, their state level elected officials or their federal, you know, just making sure that those people are hearing red wolves. Good, we like them. Just keep that drumbeat up. That's important. Don't ever think that one or two people is not enough to make a change. This is one of those examples where one or two people ruined this program.
Took it to its knees, for sure.
They were loud and angry, and they got it done. I mean, people don't use their voices when they're happy. They don't use their voices when they're content and things are going the right way, and that needs to change. You know, if we want this program here, we have to say that we want it here, and we want these animals to survive and succeed. Because right now, you know, the other people are louder than us, so that's what's got to change.
Yeah.
I think the guest, the outsider coming to zoos, or the outsider that cares for the red wolf, probably the best thing they can do is just tell everyone they can about the importance of this species. I really feel that the education of people in general is the biggest hurdle that we'd have to cross to getting this animal re-released into the world. We have to change our culture.
Once it's exposed to them, the plight of what's going on, a lot of people sign on the best they can and do what they can do, you know.
I think a lot of people go to the Outer Banks and never even cross that bridge. They have no idea what beautiful landscape is at the, you know, those refuges, just, you know, half an hour down the road. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, you know, if you do want to support conservation of a species, you know, then go see them.
So my thing is, okay, well, intrinsically, the wolf should be there. You know, they got just as much right to be here. This is an island of wildlife on the East Coast, and people are coming from New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
The red wolf is certainly unique. It is a very critically endangered species. We have fewer than 25 wolves in the wild.
We know so much more about them today than we did 30 years ago, and that's a big deal.
The survival of the species was on a precipice in the late 70s and early 80s, and we pulled them off of that. So its chances are better now, guarantee you. There are less than 14 breeding pairs in the wild right now. That is for sure. So, you know, maybe on the surface that doesn't look good, but I can tell you that this past year, the Red Wolf SSP put 30 breeding pairs together.
More than anything, the Fish and Wildlife proved they could be recovered. And for me, that's it at the end of the day. No matter what they decide in Washington, they know that this animal can be recovered.
I mean, so much that we can't do. There's a lot we can do. There's usually a lot more we can do than we can't. And if it's raising your voice is one thing, if it's telling a story or making a bracelet or a piece of art, whatever it looks like, there are things that can be done.
And, you know, if they have a particular skill set, like if they're a good writer, write op-eds, write letters to the editor.
And I think you're going to find, as you align yourself with folks who share your passions, a lot of more opportunities to express yourself in meaningful ways.
I firmly believe that if there's people who are passionate about the species and understand that this species is vital to a healthy ecosystem, that we will get there eventually.